Hello, everybody. The half Dutch, half Greek writer, old school graffiti writer, and it's an honor for us. Let's welcome him. Hello, BEZ.
Hey, hello. Hello,
How
Greece.
are you doing? How are you
Yeah,
doing?
I'm okay. I'm okay. How are you doing there? Corona
I'm
times?
uh, I'm really great. Athens is really sunny. It's the official day that everybody's outside, obviously, 1st of May. And
Nice.
it's great to have you today. You, actually, it's great to have the chance. It's an honor for us to
Eh,
have the chance to talk with you about the Greek graffiti history because you are part of it. You are very important, and I have a great feedback from old school writers that are really happy that they will have this chance to listen to your stories. So thank you, as RTMONE, I thank you, and in behalf of the Greek graffiti community, also thanks for everything.
yeah, well, thanks back. There's always been respect from the Greek community to me, and from me to them. It started with the love that I had for my Greek blood. My father's Greek, but I don't speak Greek, so there was always a frustration that I couldn't do something in Greece, and talk to people and interact, like because I only spoke English and it was too fast, too difficult to understand for a lot of people. So when I was a young guy, I was always doing crazy things, going to Athens with a skateboard. People watching me, they thought that I was crazy, It was like in the early 70s or something. So I was into crazy things, always breakdancing, roller skating, skateboarding. So once it popped in my head after a few visits I had to Athens. I thought, why is there no graffiti in Greece?
Can we take your history from the beginning?
Yeah,
For
okay.
example, can you introduce yourself to someone that doesn't know anything about you, like a
Yeah,
teenager from Greece?
okay. Well, I'm part. My father's Greek. My mother's Dutch. So I've been born in Holland. Uh, I was into a lot of crazy things. My brother was a punk. Back in the punk era, you had already had in Holland a little bit of rioting. It was more like left wingers that were protesting, so like fuck the government and those things. It was like at the end of the 70s, begin 80s. So it was not like something small, but really, really big. So you saw a lot of people doing rioting everywhere. So writing in Holland was kind of normal to see on walls, but it was bullshit writing. Like the
Okay.
beginning of the writing in Greece, like you had PAOK 1, you had Panathinaikos 2, it was like nothing, just simple letters and mostly political or football related. So I remember that I saw this in Greece, and I remember the old times in Holland, but that was a long time ago because in Holland it started like, as I told you, at the end of the 70s, begin 80s. Um, my brother was a punk, so he already made some words on walls. So I wasn't I wasn't it wasn't strange for me to see writing. I always liked to draw when I was a small kid. I like to be a cartoon drawist, but I didn't have a lot of good skills, but I liked it. I like to read comics, and every time I went to Greece, I bought comics too because there's a lot of kiosks there with American books. When I was small, I bought those comics like Black Panther, Spider-Man, all those Batman, a lot Fantastic Four. So I bought a lot of comics back then. So there was always that feeling of drawing and looking at comics. To start with graffiti is the early memories I had was like, because I'm old school for Greece, but I'm old school for Holland too. I'm 54 years old, so I'm almost 55 years old. So
Wow.
I think what's your age?
36 years
Okay,
old.
so can you understand? I write for 35 years. So
Wow.
your whole life I was writing. I have books, you know, from when you were just an embryo. So it's a long time. So I have to think about the things, how everything went, you know. So like I think 84 something. I can't remember specifically. So if I made some mistakes, I'm sorry. I saw something, you know, on TV, and it was something new. You know, you had rap, but you had the disco era too. You know, it was the end of the disco era and the beginning of rap, and it was a fusion of this, and it was exciting. You know, it was New York. It was fast, but sometimes you saw some dancing too. And I thought, man, that dancing that looked a little bit like capoeira or something. You know, I always loved martial arts. So I thought, whoa, this looks a little bit like my, you know, like a dance. And what is this? So in a while, there were more clips, and I saw these clips with a lot of breaking in it. And this was like mind blowing. You know, I thought, whoa, this is something you can't find in Holland. You can't find in Greece. So I was totally hooked on it directly. And, you know, it became a big thing, breakdancing, a very, very big thing. Graffiti came later, you know, it was always a little part of this. First, it was breakdancing was everywhere, you know, like from here to Russia, you know, you had breakdances. So this was very, very big. And I was a breakdancer too. So my first interests were into breakdancing and a little bit into graffiti too, because I like the drawing and the comics. After a while, I thought, man, I suck in breakdance. It's always my body that hurts. Had problems with my arms, with my head, with my back. So I thought, you know, let's go and draw, you know, and there was, you know, like a escape for me too, to do something creative. And I was hooked on it, you know, because it's graffiti for me was the colors, it was the lines, it was the movement. I was blown away by it, you know. Yeah, it was something special. I haven't seen this much colors and lines. It looks like a comic, you know, but then cut in a million pieces and throw it in the air, you know. It's like lines, stars, and bubbles, and so this was graffiti for me the first years. And so I had to explore and to get into graffiti. And that was like 85, 86. I did this for maybe a year or 3 or 4. Then I stopped a little bit. And after a year of not so much graffiti, I started to do graffiti again. And that was maybe 89 again, I think. And I always went to Greece and saw this crazy old school, you know, letter writing, you know. And I thought, man, it just looks like what the punks did, you know. Why is there no graffiti in Greece, in a big ass city with walls, you know, a lot of concrete? So
can I interrupt you? Can I interrupt you?
Yeah.
Because I have a few photos I have downloaded, and also I have scanned a few photos about your past, because there are some really interesting stories that have to do with the history of many writers. For example, a few days ago, we did an insta-live talk with Dusk, you know Dusk, and he shared the story about his first time that he painted the wall, and he said that he copied some pieces from Artemis, from Art One, and Bizarre. And it was really great to realize that you also did something like the same, but with scene. Can you share the story about these two photos?
Yeah, well, this is like the beginning. So when you see graffiti, there was no internet, there were no magazines, there were no cabs, there were no people to go. So we didn't have anything. But my brother, you know, he had a connection with the UK, and I think I saw it on TV, or I got the videotape, or maybe there were no videotapes back then. I can't remember. But I saw the movie Wild Style and Star Wars quite early, and I saw Scene, you know, I saw Scene riding on subways. I saw Dondi, I saw Scheme, all those New Yorkers. So I thought, this is graffiti, you know. I tried to copy them. And this was the early beginning, like 85, 86. So this is the story behind this. This is where these were just trials, you know, making a comic from a book, and then try to make graffiti because you didn't have an idea what graffiti was.
Okay.
Yeah.
Before these two pieces, had you done any other masterpieces?
Yeah, I've done pieces, yeah, before this, silver pieces and drawings, but not so much. You know, in the beginning, everything was hard to get. You know, where do you get cans when you don't know where to get cans? You know what I mean? Where do you get? Where do you paint? Because you're afraid of the police. You know, it's all a journey. You know, you have to find your way, and you didn't know anything about New York, so. When I got the book, you know, Subway Arts,
yeah,
and I saw some clips, and I saw Wild Style and Star Wars, you know, then everything began to roll. You know, I think, aha, this is the way it goes. You know, fat caps, skinny caps, coloring, 3Ds, shadow, bubbles, backgrounds. Yeah. So then I knew the lingo too. You know, before we didn't know the lingo, like caps, toy, king. You know. What did we know? Because we didn't see anything.
Exactly.
Yeah.
In the beginning of writing, most writers don't take pictures of their pieces.
Yeah, I understand. Yeah, yeah. But there's a big difference between other writers, and it's a bit stupid because when I already started graffiti, I was already like 21 or something. So I was never a young kid, you know, like 10 or 11 years old. I already, you know, I was already like 20, I don't know, remember, you know. You have to count back, but I was never young.
Okay.
It's so stupid to tell you, but the first time because we're going to talk about these photos, but I'm going to make a leap to the future. When I went to Greece, I was already 28 and I already had a kid.
Wow.
Yeah. So, but let's jump back to the history and talk about these photos. Yeah, these are really begin photos, man. This is illegal. It's next to the subway, and everybody saw this. You know, we went with the subway up and down and up and down, and hoped to find people that were looking at it. And then when some people will look at it, we would talk with each other. Hey, you doing graffiti? Whoa, man, let's come together. Let's bomb.
Wow, nice. Yeah. So you did them during night, probably, right?
Yeah, of course. Yeah. Because you know, it was something really strange to do. Like writing on the walls was not normal. You know, it's not a normal human thing to do. You know, so it's a bit strange. You know, you have to say, yeah, I'm going out. And then we're meeting like with 10 people or with 5 people, and we have to get sprays and then go to a wall. It was something strange back then.
Okay, so this is the result of a crew, or you did this by yourself?
I did this with, you know, some parts were helped with some boys because, you know, when you go somewhere, you know, the New Yorkers did this too, you know, you made the outlines and I told another guy, paint it blue, you know. And I made the character, and you know, so it was me, but it was like a crew effort too.
Perfect. I stole photos from your Instagram, as you have already understood. This is really crazy because I like it because, firstly, it seems that you are also a little bit inspired by the punk fashion. And at the same time, you are into the hip hop culture.
Yeah, this was not the punk fashion. It's more like new wave.
New wave, okay. Back then, what was the name of the characters? I mean, nowadays we call them characters. I know that you used to call them cartoon mascots. How did you call all these?
Before I saw the American things like the books and the films, I think I called my characters just like kuklas, you know, like dolls, you know, nothing.
Dolls?
Yeah, something like a drawing, you know, nothing more. I didn't have a name for a character. There was no thing in my head that that would say, this is an American character. No, it was just bullshit, you know, I just made something. I didn't have a drawing too.
Okay. What was the importance of the character in graffiti? Or in your opinion, what's the importance of this? Because it seems that you used it only as a decorative element, or you didn't hear about this.
You mean what is the importance of a character now or back then?
Back then.
Back then, I think it was like, you know, when little kids, you know, they don't understand about wine. So yeah, when you drink wine like 5 or 6 years, you think, hey, this is a good wine, that's a good wine. You get experienced, you know what I mean? So when you make a character, everybody likes it. It's easy. It's an easy door. Graffiti is a little bit more. Graffiti is like, you know, it's like a little bit difficult. So when you make a character, everybody's gonna say, whoa, a monkey or a car or a hip hop, or, you know, it's easier. It opened doors.
Okay, nice. You know that a lot of b-boys became afterwards graffiti writers, and I think that the flow of this kind of dancing has to do with the shapes and the forms and the flow of graffiti. As a former b-boy, do you agree with this?
100%. Without knowing anything about b-boying and graffiti, it was immediately, you know, clear for me that the stances and the movements of breakdance were connected. After a long time, I saw an interview with Dose from the Rocksteady crew, and he told me, you know, graffiti is like dancing a little bit. You know, and the movements in the beginning in America were made out of dances. You know, when somebody did like this, you know, you think you can say, hey, there are 2 arrows, you know, or you know what I mean? Yeah. It's the movement, big and small, you know. So it has to do with a dance, because dancing is like a free thing too, you know. And graffiti has to be free too.
Perfect, perfect. Can you take us back in this period? This is a period probably you haven't visited Greece for graffiti, and you live in a totally different reality in Rotterdam.
Yeah,
everything is tagged, really crazy. What was going on back then?
You know, like I told you, like in '84, breakdance came. '85, graffiti came. So graffiti went bigger and bigger and bigger. So from like 5 people that are doing graffiti, it got bigger and bigger and bigger because it attracts people, you know. Just like me, I was attracted to the lines and the colors. So, you know, it was normal to see a lot of tags, because a tag is easier than a piece. So, you know, there were young kids and there were guys that didn't know anything, and they made a tag, you know. They just wrote their name behind the pieces.
Perfect. What was the philosophy, the exact philosophy of your style writing back then, and has there been any evolution until now? Probably yes, but with a few sentences.
Graffiti is a journey that never stops. Graffiti is a journey that never stops, never stops. It always has to go on. So, you know, from the early 70s in New York until now, you know, it's one journey, you know. It's all like you learn things, it's in your mind, the old things, the new things, and you combine it. So styles, you know, in beginning, of course, you saw the New Yorkers. Graffiti has a skeleton, and the skeleton is called New York. If you make graffiti without the skeleton, it's not New York graffiti. It's getting art, you know. It's getting to art, which is nice, but I'm a writer, you know. I'm not an artist. So if you would say stop graffiti and make art, I would stop. Graffiti is the thing I like, letters that I like. So this is the thing. In the beginning, we saw New York. I think you have to start with New York. If you don't know the basic forms of New York, if you don't know the names, the history of New York, I think it's a bit strange to start with graffiti.
Nice, nice. You are painting 35 years. Do you have any crewmates from the past that continue still painting on the streets, right? Like you?
it's crazy, you know, like I think I am one of the only guys that is my age and still painting in Holland and painting almost every week or every 2 weeks. So of course, in this long line of history, you know, you lose friends, you see new friends, and you see again meet old friends again. So it's like a continuous thing. You know, I just like a year ago, I saw some guys that I painted were on this photo, on the top photo. They were on the left side. This guy I was painting with him in 88, 89, and I didn't see him for I don't know how many years. I don't know, maybe 28. And then we saw each other again, and he tries to paint a little bit again. So you see old friends sometimes come back, but the most of them, they got work, they got kids, they got other interested, and so they leave the graffiti scene, or they leave the graffiti scene, the active graffiti scene. You know, maybe they draw a little bit, and they stay in their, you know, box of ideas and things that they did back then. So when you stop in 80, you're always gonna like the 80s style. You know, when you stop in the 90s, you're gonna say, oh, the 90s was. It's just like your parents. When the old Greeks were good, you know, it was the bouzouki, it was with the haiduri. You know, it is. You know, so it's the same way we're talking. You know, but the funny thing with me is. Fuck the old things, man. It's now. Graffiti is now.
Nice, nice, nice. So let's go on. What about your archives? Do you have the typical boxes with photos and newspaper articles, or you are doing some collages in a black book or something? How do you collect all of this material?
Yeah, though in the beginning, you know, one thing that came clear for us is to have a black book. A black book was a book with photos and with drawings and with tags. So everywhere you went, you took your black book with you. So of course I have black books. I don't know how much. I'm not gonna count them. I don't know. And when the digital time came, you know, I got digital photos. So I think the last 8, maybe more years, they're all on my, you know, on my hard drive, you know, the photos. But before this, I always had black books with photos. And I am one of the only guys in Rotterdam, I know for Rotterdam, that has all the pictures. And all my drawings too. So I have drawings from 85.
Wow.
There's almost nobody who has this. I have drawings and I have photos because I already knew that it was, you know, something special. The most of them those guys they were starting in 85, 86. They were young kids, you know, like 8, 9, 10. So they didn't have the idea to put black books up, you know, and put photos. Of course, the photo is very important. If you don't have a photo, what kind of memory do you have? It's only talking.
Yeah. Exactly. I have noticed that your sketches are always black and white, or you put only one color. Why do you do this? Because you think that the most important is the outline, the shape, and the flow of the outline, or you want to go straight to the wall and finish it straight to the wall and have something new that is born in the real environment?
I think drawing is the beginning of everything. You know, if you go to a wall and you do freestyle, it's cool. But I see from other guys when they do this, and they do this like 20 times in a row, you see a pattern coming back. You know, it's almost a little bit the same. And I always wanted to do something totally different. So if I made one bee, I didn't want to make the same bee again. So I'm not going to change it a little bit. No, I want a totally different bee. So I was always drawing. So drawing, when you draw, you know, I do it with a pencil on paper, and you know, sometimes it's without a 3D or a shadow, and on the wall I can improvise, you know. So if it's a small wall, I'll make it smaller, or I'll make it bigger, or I'll make it longer. But my drawings are always almost all my drawings are in black and white. Why? Because it's graffiti, you know, you spray with paint. You're never gonna have the same results with a marker.
Yeah. Perfect. Well, let's go to Greece.
Greece.
Firstly, when was the first time you visited Greece? Not for graffiti, in
This
general.
was, yeah, well, this is a few years in the future. Then Greece
Yeah,
started
yeah.
when Greece. Of course, I told you when I went with my parents to Greece, I was a little kid. So I went to Greece when I was 1 year old. You know, so. But the first time I did it for graffiti was I had a plan. My brother married a Greek wife. He was living in Pagrati, in the center of
Okay.
Athens. And I told him, you know, maybe there's a plan if you would make a poster. This is funny, you know, make a poster and write my number and
Yeah.
put a drawing on it. And what would you do? You know, try to put some posters with some glue on the walls to some places, you know, the old stadium, the big road, you know, around some corners, you know, try to make some posters. Maybe, you know, I can get some reactions of the writing community that was already there, but you know, the crazy writers community with you know, left wing and right wing and politics and football kind of guys. So the posters was up. My brother did it, you know, and I came and he said, well, I'm sorry, man, there was nobody who had reacted. So I was, you know, I was, oh man, how am I going to try to make something out of graffiti in Athens because it's such a big ass city. So I was a bit sad, you know. I think, well, okay, if it doesn't work, it doesn't work, you know. So I went back home, and after a few months, my brother called me. He said there were some crazy guys that were calling on the telephone because there was a telephone number. There was one guy, and he was everywhere in Bagrat, you know. He was like a right-wing activist, you know. He said, "Am I talking to BEZ?" And he stopped, you know. He was so they were afraid to get caught of the police, you know, because they thought the police are trying to catch the fish.
Yeah.
It was really funny, you know. So there were stupid calls. So I said, yeah, well, okay. If there's somebody who gives a telephone number, we'll try, you know. So I came back to Greece like in a few months, and we had some telephone numbers, but it was hard to get in contact with people. And one night, this is the funny story. So this is the spark where everything starts. I was walking on the street and my brother said, we got to get the posters away, man. If you're going to make pieces here and your telephone number is up there, it's not very smart. I said, yeah, we're going to get the posters away. So one night we were putting the photos away. I think it was at the art academy somewhere in Athens. There was a long, small guy who was following us. I thought, okay, you know, okay, fuck that, you know, we get the posters off. And at one time he said, hey, what are you doing? Well, I said, well, we're taking the posters off. Why not? He said, yeah, but why? I like the posters. I said, why do you like the photos, the posters? He says, I am a graffiti writer. I said, what? He said, yes, 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 yes. I said, I don't believe you, man. Who are you? And he was like part Belgian, part Greek. I think if I have it good, it was Mers.
Okay.
A long guy.
Which year was that? Sorry, which year did you start pasting the poster? Which year?
It has to be 92 or 93. The one.
Okay.
Okay. So I thought it was a strange kid. He was very long. He was into basketball. So I say, okay, I believe you. You're into graffiti. He said, yeah, I know more, you know. He said, you're into magazines, he told me. I said, whoa, how do you know that? Because I was already in magazines in Paris and in Australia, because I was already making big walls, you know. When I went to Greece, I already made big burners, you know, like big walls with a lot of paint. So I said, that's very, very interesting, man. Mers, Belgium. Do you have a link with Belgium? What's the link? He says, yeah, I'm in a school, the French-Greek school. I thought, aha, look. The Greek people, they, you know, they didn't have the root of it. It was the French or the Belgian people that put it together, you know. He said, I'll tell you one thing, he said, Mes, tomorrow I'll come to your house with your brother and I'll take some other guy with me. I said, okay, that's cool. So then came Tare, T-A-R-A, a long guy too, and we hit it off because he could speak quite good English. That was cool, you know. He said, yeah, I know you from Antox. You've been painting with Boxer from Paris. And we saw you in magazines. I was blown away, you know. I said, whoa, do you know about the magazines? Yeah, we know you. And I'm not alone. I said, are there more people there in graffiti? He said, yeah, I'm going to take you to another guy. I will show you a piece of him. So we went to a small school or something, and I saw for the first time a Greek piece. It wrote, what was the old cultural ambassador of Greece, the woman, that was a movie star?
Mercury.
There was a Melina piece. I said, man, this looks like graffiti, man. And this guy came to me, so it was Mers, and it was Tare, and they got a guy called Kenzo. Whoa. Kenzo. And he made that piece. And I said, man, now I believe you. I see a piece, I see the writer. I said, let's do something, man. Let's tag, let's make a piece. But this was a strange kind of guy. You know, he said, yeah, but we need to calculate how much money we're going to use on cans. And I said, calculate, just do graffiti, man. We're not going to make a plan. Yeah, the next day he came with like 6 or 7 pages with it. We have to have so much money. We need 1 can of red. And I said, man, fuck all the plans, man. Just do, boom, let's do it. You know, let's go out tonight, bang. But he was a bit, you know, afraid. But Tare, he said, I've got 2 nephews. And it was Ante and Cats. Well, these were two street rats, you know. They were young kids, but they had a big mouth and they could speak really good English. And we hit it off directly because I could speak, you know, about the shit, and they knew me from the magazines too. And then I think it blew up, you know, because they went back to the school, this French Greek school, and they were talking, and then, you know, the fire got burnt, you know. Then we hit it off. This was a little bit the beginning. And in the meantime, so this was a little bit the half Greek group, you know. It was easy for me because, you know, as you know, I can speak very bad Greek, so it was, for me, it was handy to have those guys. But there was a Greek branch too of the tree. It was Woozy. So Woozy came, and Woozy, you know, I had to laugh because Woozy was a skinny motherfucker with the big glasses. And I was 28, you know, I was looking at him, I was really laughing, and he had a book with him with market graffiti, you know, with I can't remember, like graffiti they did in the 70s, you know, but worse, you know. And he said, I'm the big graffiti writer, and he showed me the paper, and I said, yeah, well, that's cool, you know, but it doesn't, you know, it's the beginning of graffiti. And he says, why? He says, this is one of the best I did. So, you know, as we were talking, I really liked him because he was a smart guy, you know, but he was a real Greek guy, so he had problems with the English language. So always Tare and Ante had to translate and have to tell him, you know, this and that. But he was eager, you know. I always like guys that were eager, you know, that want to learn. You know, if you say, I like graffiti, like Kenzo, you know, like more like posing, or like it's a fashion, you know, ooh, I like it, graffiti, you know. No, you know, you have to be really dirty, you know, you have to draw, you have to go in the mud, you have to go on roofs, you have to go and tag and bomb and make drawings. So this Kenzo was too much systematic, you know, he wasn't a real writer, more like an artist. But Woozy was a real writer, he wanted to learn, so every day he came, I think 7 days in a row, he came from the suburbs to Pakrati, and every time he said, is this better, is this better, is this better? Is this error okay? Is this good? So my heart went out to him too. So these were the 2 branches, the French Greek branch and the Greek branch. And they came together, you know. We made walls. I met Artemis from the TXC crew. You know, and back then, you know, everybody went crazy because everybody wants to paint with me. You know, it was like, when we went somewhere, there were like 50 people looking. and every young kid wanted to do it too. So it was really crazy, crazy, crazy. So this is the way it started. The whole funny story with posters and getting in contact with these two branches.
Wow,
Yeah.
wow, wow. In the past, you have given also a few interviews here in Greece, and I have read them. And you said that when you came back again in Greece, everybody looked like you.
Oh, yeah, that's a funny story. So like I came like every half year. So the first, you know, it was the beginning, you know, they didn't know anything. But Kurtz and Ante, they told me, how do you get the cans? How do you get the caps? So I gave them addresses. I gave them magazines. All by post, I think, you know, because there was no internet, you know, there was nothing. I don't even know if they had videotapes back then. Yeah, they had videotapes, but, you know, it was all difficult. So when I came back the second time or the third time, I don't remember, the second time, I think, I took my t-shirts that I had from Sparvar, you know, it was a big brand back then. I had t-shirts from Belton, you know, from Molotov, Belton, it was called Belton in the beginning. I had, you know, t-shirts and pants and caps and things, you know, that were hip-hop related. So when I get off the plane and the people saw me, they were blown by these t-shirts. They say, oh man, we got to have these t-shirts, we got to have these pants, we have to. They wanted everything. They want the pants, the t-shirts, the socks, the shoes, the caps, everything. So after 3 or 4 years, months, I came back, and the funny thing was, I went out of the airplane and everybody looked like me. You have to understand it. They all looked like, you know, like the same. They were like copies of me, you know. All had the big pants on, all had the Sparvar t-shirts on, because in the meantime they had a store that was selling Sparvar. They were selling the t-shirts. So that was really, really funny to see. I thought, man, I thought you have to, I told them you have to be a little bit original too, you know, but this was really funny to see all those guys with all looking like me, you know. So this was really, really funny. But I always told them to be original too in their styles, no, never to copy me. You can copy me, but try to be yourself too. So this was a funny thing for me to see, that everybody was the same. And I was on TV and in the newspapers too. So I got some connections with Thessaloniki too. And, you know, this is the whole spark in the beginning. And people came, and the more you got in the beginning, you got guys like, I can't even remember, you know, you got Dimmer, Bizarre. You know, so many people came together back then. And they all wanted to learn and to look what I did and to talk with we had a little community back then, you know.
Which were the first tips you gave them that you think that they were really useful to understand the whole philosophy of style writing and being part of this culture?
Yeah, well, for the Greek people, it was a little bit difficult because I spoke a language that was too fast for him. You don't learn English in school, so it's when I talk English, it was a little bit hard for them to understand in the beginning. But the other guys like Tare, Ante, Cats, they were like sharks. They were eating the meat like a motherfucker, you know. So they knew everything. So I could tell them, and they would translate it or show it on the wall to the other guys. And my philosophy was, you know, to learn the basics. Before you do graffiti, you know the skeleton of graffiti, and the skeleton is New York. And in a while, you know, like not in the beginning, but after this, I told them other things too, you know, to look at this and that and that and that. And they mixed it all together, and this is when it started. And the trains too, you know, the walls.
Perfect, perfect. Let's see some photos and travel with your stories. How did you do this? Did you paint in the beginning during the day, or did you bomb during night?
It was daytime, and this was later, I think, because in the beginning, the problem was where to get cans. And yeah, I was looking at can stores in Athens, but you know, they all had whack paints, you know. So the paint was really hard in the beginning. When Sparvar came, it was easier, but this was before Sparvar. So I can't remember what kind of brands, but it was bullshit brands like King Minos and we had some Levi's paint and some other bad paint, so I can't remember. It was all terrible paint in the beginning. So we needed a white wall to put the paint on because it was all terrible quality.
Yeah.
But this was later. I have a photo of the first thing I did in Greece. I will show you. Yeah. I think it's 93, if you can see it. Wait a minute. You see the big wall here? It's a blockbuster.
Oh, yeah.
So this is the first thing that I did in Athens.
Sorry, it says PEN.
Yeah, on top there's a PEN and down there's a BEZ.
Okay.
Yeah.
Can you narrate the story of this day?
Yeah, you know, the whole story consists out of many visits to Greece. So, you know, this was one visit, and I took a Dutch friend with me who was a fast tagger. I said, let's go to Athens and let's bomb the shit. No, but it was different than Holland, because we had some problems. You know, we wanted to do the most crazy things we can imagine in Greece. So we want to go to the parliament and bomb the parliament. But this friend of mine, this guy went up with a can, but he pissed in his pants because there was like a Rambo cop coming, you know, with a helmet and a big gun, and he pointed the gun at his face. They were lying in the bushes because, you know, it was all guards, you know, in the parliament. And we didn't understand because we were walking, you know, to the house of the parliament people, you know. At one time, we had a stupid plan to go to the Acropolis. I think, what will happen if I fuck up the Acropolis? The whole of Greece will talk about me. I had a little bit of bad feeling about it because, you know, of my Greek blood, it was a bit of, you know, like bad to do, but I thought when I do it, it will be the fuck of the year, you know. So, but the problem was, I got into the grounds of Acropolis, but as you know, as a Greek, I think there are maybe 100 or 200 stray dogs there. Dogs that are dogs, but not normal dogs, like wild dogs. So I came there in the nighttime, and I heard woof woof, and then a woof woof, and then I saw a million eyes looking at me, and there were like, I don't know how many fucking dogs after my ass. So that was not a good plan.
Whoa.
Like 50 dogs at my ass, you know. So I went straight out. I said, Acropolis it's a bit difficult to do Acropolis because of the dogs.
Can you tell us any stories about this period that you started painting along with the Greeks, which were just kids trying to learn by you studying your styles and your techniques?
Yeah. It looks like the story I told you. You know, there were so many people that wanted to paint, so the walls were crowded. You know, we painted with 5, 6, 7, 8, 10 people, maybe more. You know, at one time. So from every place, you know, from every suburb, there were new people coming and coming and coming. So when I went to Greece and I stayed there maybe like for 10 days, I had to paint. Like, I don't know how many times I went crazy because every day I had to paint because there was this, there was Woozy, there was this, there was art, there was this, Dimmer, then there was a new guy from this place. So, yeah, it was crazy in the beginning. And everything, you know, there were so many walls. So it was so easy because in Greece you could paint almost at every school. It was incredible.
So you didn't have any permission? You were just entering the schools because there weren't guards or something back then? So you were just painting?
In the beginning, you know, the very first pieces I did, the silver piece that I did, you know, that was illegal, you know, and we did some bombing. But after that, my brother got me on TV and on newspapers, and through the exposure I had there was one place, I think it was a suburb, a mayor came to the telephone and he said, you can make a graffiti piece on my school, in my suburb. So this was one of the first a little bit commissioned walls. But the rest of the walls were all organized by Ante, by Kertz, by Woozy. Woozy always had walls, you know, there were always walls. People to paint and walls everywhere.
Perfect. here, there was any plan about this collaboration, this kind of production, or you were just painting the one next to each other?
I think in Greece, especially in the beginning, there was no plan at all. You know, there was no wall that was really staged, you know, like we're going to make a background and you were going to make a character and you were going to make this and that. It was all freestyle, you know, it was like the old times of breaking, you know, you put some cardboard on the street and I started to break and the other people started to break too. This was the same on the walls. I started to paint and the other people came and we paint. There was no plan.
Perfect. All these kids back then were they had you as a teacher. Did you learn anything from these young kids, like from the fantasy and the imagination of Dimmer and the quality of his artworks?
Of course, not in the beginning, because in the beginning it was, you know, like it was all trying to do graffiti and then they got a little bit better. But in a while I saw some people that I was, you know, I was shocked almost that they had good skills for characters. Some people had some good feeling for letters. So I was shocked, you know, at some people that got into graffiti really fast.
Can you mention some of them?
Of course, you know, the French guys, you know, like Ante and Katz, Tare, I can't remember, you know, like there were guys that caught up really fast.
Perfect, perfect. What's the story behind this specific wall?
You know, it's all so long ago, but the only thing I can say from this wall is like down there is 101, and this is the code to call Rotterdam. So nowadays you have a big company that sells this brand 010 and make t-shirts and is very famous in Rotterdam because it's a brand for clothes and for TV. But back then I was the first one who put 010 down. So it was just a joke, you know, and I think it was, yeah, I think it was, I met Art somewhere and we say, okay, let's do a wall somewhere. And I will say, okay, man, let's get a silver, let's get some black, and let's do it. That's cool. No plan, just do it. Boom.
Perfect.
Yeah.
Perfect. I have found this picture online in the past, and right now I have scanned this from the brand new book that you already know its existence, The History of Graffiti, which is published by Haritonas Tsamantakis and Orestis Pangalos. You know about this.
Yeah, I know
so,
the book.
In the previous picture, we can see your piece without anything in the background. Afterwards, we can see this whole collaboration with a lot of guys like Dimmer, Art, and Guzi.
Yeah, because it's because, you know, everybody liked the graffiti scene so much, so they wanted to be all next to me. You know, it was like, you know, they all wanted to be with me because I had the stories. You know, I know the stories about New York, about the cans, about styles, about colors, about you know, a lot of things. So they wanted to learn, and that's why they all came together. You know, it's like almost like dogs. You know, when one dog is pissing on one corner, there will be 10 or 20 dogs pissing on the same corner.
Oh. So
actually,
you were not painting at the same time in the
I really can't remember, but I think it's cool, you know, because I was always into learning and getting young kids to the walls, you know. I was never a guy that was like, oh, I'm the greatest and I'm not gonna talk about it. This was never the plan, because, you know, because of my Greek blood, you know, I wanted to bring the Greek scene there, and there was no commercial idea behind it. Never. This was one big thing that is really important to say, because there was one time a big jam in Athens, and Scene was there, and Ses, and I can't remember.
can we go? Can we talk about this a little bit later?
Yeah, okay.
A little bit later,
Yeah.
because I have also some photos from these days. So let's go to this. This was a night action, probably. What's going on with this specific wall? Because it's really beautiful. It's really interesting, and
I think, you know, Ante and Tare and Katz and Dimmer was on this wall, Woozy too. They were all so enthusiastic, so they wanted to do pieces so bad that we did so many pieces. And you know, if we could do 10 pieces a day, we did 10 pieces. You know, it was
wow.
of the cans. If we had the cans, we would make pieces.
Yeah, perfect.
So perfect. You know, we did like these kind of walls. We did maybe like 4 of them in a day.
4? Wow, in the same day. Whoa.
Yeah, 3, 4, and maybe at night time we went to the yards. You know, it was crazy. You know, I always wanted to go, and they liked it to stay with me and paint too.
Wow. Here, your piece is yours, and the character is also yours.
Yeah, it's a stupid character, and there's a joke behind it, but it's nothing special.
Can you tell us about this joke? It's really interesting for us. You know, even if it's not for you, for us it makes sense.
Yeah. Well, I saw a piece of Delta, and Delta is one of the legendary members of the USA crew in Holland. I think they are the root of the Dutch graffiti, the real graffiti, not the left-wingers politic graffiti, but the real New York graffiti. Were USA crew. You had Shoe, Delta, Joker,
exactly,
Jazz. So one of these guys, Delta, made a piece. Maybe a year before this piece in Tokyo. There weren't so many graffiti pieces in Tokyo, and he wrote near his piece, everybody gets I don't know, like you know, fuck everybody, but then in a slang, in the Dutch slang. So the Japanese, they didn't understand anything. So it was funny. There was a piece, and there was like, you know, like fuck everything, you know, fuck everything, but then in a slang. So when I made the dog, I can't remember, I was tired, or I just made the stupid dog, and I wrote the dog as saying, like, I don't know, like bark, bark or something, like bullshit, you know.
So this is Dutch slang.
Yeah, so I thought, why not write something Dutch? You know, it would be stupid because nobody understands. Just like the Japanese didn't understand what Delta wrote.
Can you translate this for us?
It's been splitted.
Which means?
Because there were other letters behind it.
Ah, okay. Nice. This was an old Hall of Fame. Do you remember this specific place? You have painted probably a lot of times.
Yeah. It was a very, very nice place. Very, very long wall. I think I have a videotape of it too, when we're all painting. Yeah, what can I say? Beautiful, beautiful, smooth, concrete, long wall, and we went painting with, I don't know, maybe 10 people or something. Yeah, good wall.
Like a graffiti jam, an official graffiti jam.
Yeah, I think, you could say that there was a little bit of jam feeling back then, yeah. But that was the feeling like almost everywhere, you know, it was always a little bit of jam.
Yeah.
Because of so many people.
Perfect. Do you remember this fanzine or not? Do you have this fanzine?
I have it, yeah. From Dimmer, I think.
Hip Hop Kinema. It's the first Greek fanzine ever published, and there is an interview inside with you.
Yeah.
Which is really interesting.
Yeah, well, I think when you read the interview, I can't remember, but I think what I said back then, I would say back now, right now too, you know?
That's true. That's really true. And it's in English, and it's really interesting that they didn't want to translate it in order not to lose the sense of your personal expression. That's really interesting.
It came out. It came out at a nightclub in Athens. It was a hip hop night when they wanted to see me breakdance, and I think Dimmer made like 10 or 15 copies of this book, or of this magazine. I mean, it's not a book; it's a magazine.
Yes, exactly.
Yeah.
So it's the actual publisher, if you can call him publisher, is Dimmer or Artemis or all of them together.
I think it must be. I think it must be Dimmer.
Okay, but here the interview for you was made by someone called Jar or something like this, or maybe I can't read this. With you don't remember how were you interviewed? Did you send any letter or something? Did you talk to them and they just written everything? How did this happen?
Can't remember.
Okay, it's there are so many decades ago. It makes sense. What was your opinion about this specific fanzine in comparison with all the others fancy magazines from the European community?
Very nice. It looked like a toy magazine, but I liked it because I had the heart for the Greeks. I had the heart for the Greek scene. So when there was a book, I was happy because it showed the artists that were busy back then. And I thought it was really cool to make a black and white magazine. I can remember the old magazines in Holland too. Like in '84, they were black and white too. So that was cool for me.
Do you have such things in your archive right now? Fanzines from back then, do you have anything?
Yeah, I must say this magazine I have, and I have some old Greek magazines too. Back then, I almost bought every magazine I saw from the world. So from England, from France, from every. I had hundreds of them. I had big piles of magazines. But like maybe 5 or now more, 10 years ago, I sold all those magazines.
Whoa! Why did you do this?
I think because back now I see the history of it, and it's a little bit a shame that I put everything away because sometimes I was in it too.
Yeah.
But what to do, I liked it the money, and most of all I liked it more the magazines to paint again. So when somebody says I'll give you so and so much money, I thought, whoa, I can go to Greece again, I can paint, or I can paint in Holland. So I was thinking about painting.
That makes sense. That makes total sense. And someone is lucky probably because of your collection.
I know the people that bought it, yeah.
Perfect. Do you remember how did you give an interview in a Greek magazine? Probably it's a mainstream magazine or a newspaper. I don't know. How did this happen back then, before internet?
Yeah, funny story is this. My brother who put the posters on. You remember? He was a director of a big company back then. So he had some lines, and he told me, to get graffiti big, you have to go into the newspapers and to the television. I said, man, that's crazy. Then they're going to see my face. Well, he said, put the mask on and tell them nobody knows your face. They're going to like it. So first, I think it was a magazine or a newspaper. I can't remember. And it was really, my brother organized it. He told them, he was like a manager or something. He told them, go to this place at that hour and you will see the strange guy with the mask.
Whoa.
And this is the way it goes, with the television and with the newspaper and the magazines.
Nice, really nice. BEZ, Instagram will close by default right now. So I will close it, and we will have a 3 minutes pause, and I will get online to continue our really interesting story, your really interesting narrations. Okay. After 3 minutes.
Okay.
Thank you so much. See you after a few minutes.
Okay.
Bye-bye.
Bye.